Hello. I'm going to be here introducing and talking about some of the books that I've been reading lately. So over here for the first one, we have everybody's favorite sad literary darling and her journals. So this is the unabridged journals of Sylvia Plath, the first American publication. And on the back they say that this is the first time that all of her journals have been published in full. Faithfully transcribed from the 23 journals and journal fragments owned by Smith College. Unsealed just before his death. I wonder how it got into their possession. Whether it was sold or just donated after Sylvia's death. And honestly, I was reading this and it just sounds like she's somebody who didn't have anyone around her to speak about or speak through her thoughts. And that's why she was writing so much. And honestly, I wonder if this is just how people talked in the past. All of her thoughts are just so fleshed out. And there's something about Western society that kind of seems it just kind of seems to me that a lot of people in Western society think more about how they're saying something than what they're saying, which is just as important, or maybe not, because, I don't know, content over how it looks, right? But maybe that's why they just sound so clear. But if you end up doing that too much, then you just end up sounding a little too empty. By reading this, it just kind of made me realize some of the reasons why she is such a popular and well-loved author, especially among young women. All the things that she writes about are very personal, and that's why she's so diaristic in her work, I guess. And she spends a lot of time on the physical and very simple daily experiences about what she's eating and her worries about the future, her worries about becoming a worker rather than a person. And these are all issues that are becoming more and more relevant, I guess, especially to young people. She just sounds so frantic sometimes. And she is sounding so frantic talking about spilling her drink at a party or looking at boys or men that she likes and talking about her mother or her part-time job. And she is so descriptive just about every single little thing in her life. And she can make something so daily and everyday sound so interesting. And I guess she might have been a very forward thinker, I guess ahead of her time, you could say. That's what everybody likes to say. When she talks about her fears of marriage and relationships. So over here she's talking about her fears of a very mature, well fleshed out relationship and also of marriage. And there it is. It's over here. And over here she writes, and there it is. When asked what role I will plan to fill, I say, what do you mean role? I plan not to step into a growing and learning step into a part of marrying, but to go on living as an intelligent, mature human being, growing and learning as I always have. No shift, no radical change in life habits. Never will there be a circle signifying me and my operations, confined solely to home, other womenfolk, and community service, enclosed in the larger worldly circle of my mate, who brings home from his periphery of contact with the world the tales only of vicarious experience to me, like so. And over she draws here like a Venn diagram. No, rather, there will be two overlapping circles with a certain strong riveted center of common ground, but both with separate arcs jutting out in the world, a balanced tension adaptable to circumstances, in which there is an elasticity of pull, tension, yet firm unity, two stars polarized. Like so, in moments of communication that is complete, also like so, almost fusing into one, but fusion is an undesirable impossibility and quite non-durable. So there will be no illusion of that. So he, her partner, or like whoever's in front of her romantically at that time, he accuses me of struggling for dominance. Sorry, wrong number. Sure, I'm a little scared of being dominated. Who isn't just a submissive, docile, milky type of individual, and that is not he, not me. And this is capitalized. But that doesn't mean I, ipso facto, want to dominate. No, it is not a black and white choice or alternative, like either I'm victorious on top or you are. It is only balance I ask for, not the continual subordination of one person's desires and interests to the continual advancement of another's. That would be too grossly unfair. Let's get to the bottom of his question. Why is he so afraid of my being strong and assertive? It makes me wonder if she had actually someone to talk to about this, who would listen to her and understand her, whether she would be writing so much in these journals. And over here is a very 21st century sentence. You can afford to loaf. She said it first. And a lot of Sylvia Plath detractors or critics like to say that she's very shallow or that she focuses too much on herself. But over here, she talks a lot about more than just what I mentioned earlier about her daily life and her own personal feelings and emotions, but also about religion. And anyway, talking about oneself is talking about wider society, because what is wider society made of? It's made out of me and more people who would call themselves me. And over here, she talks kind of about Christian denial of science and the denial of care for others. So here she writes, I would argue or discuss on their premise, more stimulating that way. A skeptic, I would ask for consistency, first of all. If matter is unreal, if we are imprisoned in these clay carcasses, if disease is imaginary and unreal, bracket, and Billy cries, I hurt my elbow. She says, know the truth, you are God's child. Could God's child be hurt? Of course not. God has no elbows, no body. Know the truth, and the truth will make you free, close bracket. If this is all so, then why pamper your illness? Some devout Christian scientists don't and have let their wives or husbands die of cancer, for example. But they say error is trying to talk, and let their children stay in bed if they don't feel well. Also have their teeth filled. Now that to me seems illogical. And I like how she doesn't really write in linear or coherent sentences. She'll just write something and then halfway be like, wow, bam, crash. And add like the little sound effects and everything that she's thinking of in her mind. And something here that a lot of people do to themselves, she constantly puts herself down in like self-deprecating descriptions. Over here, I turn to Ted, who is as close and warm and dear as can be, closer, warmer, dearer than I ever was to myself, who sees me sick, ugly, sallow, sneezy, and hugs me, holds me, cooks me a veal chop, and brings bowls of iced pineapple, steaming coffee at breakfast, tea at tea time. All of her sentences have a rhythm that is just so unnatural and jerky. The thing that makes her writing feel so unnatural, just the way that she describes her experiences in such a detached way, in the way that when your experiences are just too strong or too potent, your mind kind of recedes into itself and you feel kind of distant from your body. And there's also another part that I'm trying to find, but I cannot find. I thought that I flagged it down, but I didn't. And she also has these weird little drawings. I forget where it is, but it's basically about when she kissed somebody or got kissed, and she ended up with a bruise on her lip, and you can't really tell if it's figurative or literal, and it's just so blatantly and dismissively dropped into the whole text and body of her journal, and it just passes so quickly. And it's just very telling of what it's like to be a young woman. And anyway, to close off, this is one of my favorite poems by her, which really clearly shows what I was talking about earlier, when she can just make something so simple feel so important and so strong and so potent. And it's her poem Cut.